Hello, everybody. I hope you're all well. Today, we are going to talk about gestational diabetes. Okay. Hi, my name is Ange or Anjali if you're new here. Yes, and I am women's health coach and nutrition counselor. And of course, I'm the founder of this platform. Okay. So I'm going coming. I am just trying to accept her. Okay, hopefully she will be joining in soon. So today we have amazing. Oh, here she is. Hi, Helena. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
I'm really excited to be here. This is going to be a really good
Yeah.
chat.
Yeah, likewise. Yes. So I'm just about to introduce you. Okay. So today we have amazing guest Helena, who you are, and gestational diabetes dietitian, right?
I am, yes. So I'm a
Yes.
dietitian and specialise in working with women who do have gestational diabetes. I know that it's a really, it's like a niche field where there's not a lot of other dietitians specialising in this area. So I really love doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. And more the merrier for our the community, right? Women community. So I was going to read your bio. Okay. So you are dietitian, nutritionist, and plant-forward eater, providing tailored nutrition services to women navigating their gestational diabetes and postpartum journey. At a time of life when women often feel forgotten, I believe in prioritizing the well-being of mothers so that they can thrive during their pregnancy and beyond. Beautifully said. Thank you. And yeah, before we start, I was going to say, this talk is all about the empower you with the information and just to give you a general idea. And if the viewers are looking for support, please go to your, God, I can't speak today, to your practitioner.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yes. So, but we will have the special Q&A at the end with Helena, and you can, if you like to pop some questions at the end, please do. So yes, and so before we start, would you like to add anything else in?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there's too much to say about me. I think,
Too much. Of course, we want to know you, and so when we connect, and the magic happens, right?
yeah.
So yeah, it's always good to know, about our guest, so we can relate to who you are, where you're from, and what you do. But anyway, so the first thing first, I wanted to ask for the people who doesn't know the what is gestational diabetes.
Yeah, great question. And I think that a lot of people don't actually know. So I think it's always good to go back to just basics about what it actually is. So essentially, if we want to look at it really, really simply, gestational diabetes is really having high blood sugar during pregnancy. So higher blood sugar than normal, which can have really detrimental impacts on both the mum and the baby. So I'll explain a little bit about how this happens. So essentially, what in normal function, we have a hormone, I can't speak, we have a hormone called insulin, and
Yes.
insulin acts like a key that opens up the locks on our cells to help
Mm-hmm.
sugar get out of the bloodstream and into those cells, because when we eat something and it does get broken down into those sugar molecules in our bloodstream, it's not really that useful to us. We can't really utilize it until that sugar gets into the cells, so into places like muscle cells, our brain, our liver, where it can support all sorts of our functions, right? So we need the insulin to act like that key to come and unlock the cells so that the blood sugar, the sugar from
Yes.
the blood can get transported into those cells, right? It can't do that on its own.
Mm.
So during pregnancy, what tends to happen is we've got hormones being produced by the placenta, And in a nutshell, those hormones will block, you can say, the effect of the insulin that should be transporting the sugar into the cells, right? And that's for a functional purpose. It's thought that that is to support the baby getting enough fuel so that sugar is like shunted to the baby that they can keep on through the placenta. Yeah, and most women will, their bodies will adapt to that. So it's also thought that by the end of pregnancy, most women will be producing 2 to 3 times the amount of insulin as normal. So 2 to 3 times that hormone, all of those little keys to unlock the cells, to be able to compensate that effect happening, to keep the sugar in the bloodstream really nice and balanced and regulated, because we always need a consistent supply, but we don't want too much, we don't want too little. In women with gestational diabetes, that process is interrupted a bit. And basically their pancreas, which is the organ that produces the insulin, which is the key, unlocking the cells, the pancreas just can't keep up, really. Or insulin is kind of dodgy, so the keys don't work very well to open up the locks on the cells. So we end up with more of the sugar just sticking around in the bloodstream because it can't get out of there fast enough, really. And then, as I said before, that can be harmful to both the baby and the mum, without scaring people, because I don't like to be somebody that fearmongers about all this, because it's really important to mention that all of these risks can essentially be minimised if blood sugar is well regulated. So if it does stay nice and balanced and similar to what normal levels would be, then the risks wouldn't really be there. But there are really important risks. So you can get a baby that has low blood sugar after they're born because their own body is overproducing insulin. So it's kind of to head around, but if they're getting too much sugar into their own system, then their body will be compensating. So once they're born and that sugar supply kind of gets cut off, then their body will still be thinking it's getting all of that sugar coming in, right?
From the insulin from the mum.
Yeah. So, well, their own insulin will be over time to reduce the sugar in their own bloodstream, right? So once they're born and there's not that constant sugar coming in through the placenta, then they're going to still be producing too much insulin, so their sugar can drop too low in their bloodstream. And as well as that, if your baby is growing too big from having too much sugar going through the placenta, helping them grow too big, right? Then that problems around birth. So you might have more risk of like an instrumental delivery or needing to have a C-section, things like that. That's not always the case, but that can happen if bub does grow too big. And, you know, there's some really serious stuff as well. There's things like stillbirth and preeclampsia and kind of scary things. But again, those risks can be totally minimised if blood sugar is well managed. And then there's some thoughts that it might also impact the baby's longer term health outcomes. So their risk of things like diabetes down the track. And I've got to talk about mum as well, because it also will give a, what's the word I'm looking for?
After
increase the risk.
she has given birth.
Yeah, well, after she's had gestational diabetes, it really increases the risk of going on to develop type 2 diabetes, which is that type of diabetes. So there's like a 7-fold risk of that happening. So we really want to make sure that mum stays healthy both during gestational diabetes and going forward, because it can potentially be a sign that there's underlying things going on in the body to be mindful of. Does that make sense? Okay?
Yes, yeah, I think so, because I was thinking of when you were explaining, you know, how when I was pregnant we had to do a test, the sugar test. So is that the way the practitioners they find out that we have diabetes or not? Is that correct?
Yeah, I should have mentioned that. So you do the glucose test when you're pregnant. That is like mandatory in Australia, so everybody will be doing that. You've got to drink the I'm sure a lot of pregnant women watching will know exactly what I'm talking about,
Oh,
where you've got to drink
yes.
the sugar.
It's very sweet and it's like, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think how
5
many
grams.
times you have to take? Twice? You have to
Yes,
do one
blood
first.
before you drink it. Yeah,
Mm,
and then blood test at 1 hour after you've
after.
had the drink, and then 2 hours after having the drink as well to see what
Yes.
blood sugar is during that time. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happens if you have the diabetes? It spikes up, or how does the what? How does it show?
Yeah, so if you have a number that is above the normal ranges at any of those time points, so before
Mm-hmm.
drinking 1 hour in and 2 hours in, then you can be diagnosed with gestational diabetes, and it will mean that the sugar in your bloodstream is too high
Mm-hmm.
compared to normal. So
Oh,
normal
yes.
normal function. So if somebody without diabetes drank that drink, then they might get still like a little rise in blood sugar,
Right.
but the body would quickly compensate and bring it back down to normal levels really quickly
Yeah.
versus somebody
So
with,
the cell will absorb the sugar. Is that correct?
yep, you'd produce more insulin to
To
quickly get the sugar out of the bloodstream and into the cells. Yeah,
yes.
exactly. But if you have
Mm.
diabetes, then it would mean that that compensation can't happen. So
Yeah.
therefore more sugar would be in the bloodstream, it would be a lot
Mm.
higher, the number would be
Yeah.
higher. Yeah.
So if anyone just come joined us in, I just wanted to say that today we have beautiful Helena, and she is a gestational diabetes dietitian. Okay, thank you so much everyone for coming here today. I think I'm a bit slow. I was supposed to say welcome earlier, but I think I was like all distracted. Yeah, so talking about symptoms and symptoms of it, what can we expect?
It's actually a really tricky one where there's not really many symptoms. So
Yeah.
some people might experience symptoms of high blood sugar, but
Hmm.
generally you won't know that you have it, which can be hard when uh, I don't know, in some ways it makes it more difficult to manage because it's not tangible and you can't know
Mm.
blood sugar is high. Um, but yeah, there's no real symptoms except for when you start monitoring your blood sugar levels using a finger prick
The
device, then you will see a
yes.
high number. And some people will experience symptoms like maybe feeling like hot, sweaty, shaky,
Mm.
feeling a bit unwell when their blood sugar is high. But a lot of the time, you will get pretty much no symptoms of it. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes, yes. So that's why it is so important to do that test, the sugar test, the in during pregnancy. Is that
Yeah,
correct? Because you don't see as much symptoms, so the blood test is the only way.
yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Now I'm ready. I'm like now understanding. You know, I had two kids like 13 years ago, and yes, and now I'm learning about it. Thank you. So, yeah, so is there any specific dietary guidelines that people should follow during this time?
Yes and no is what I like to say to this
Yes.
because the way that I see it, there is no gestational diabetes diet. A lot of the time, that's what people will kind of say and say they're on their gestational diabetes diet. But I don't see it like that because the types of recommendations that I make for women who do have gestational diabetes are essentially normal, healthy eating that I would
Mm-hmm.
give to a lot of people. But the thing with gestational diabetes, and I suppose I need to take a few steps back because I haven't explained that. I mean, it's kind of put two and two together and obvious that food impacts your blood sugar levels.
Mm.
It's when you eat
Yes.
things that have sugar in them or get broken down into sugar, then that will raise your blood sugar levels. But all foods will have some impact on blood sugar, right? So it's a
Mm.
really important big factor that you do need to focus on. One of many factors. There's a whole lot of other lifestyle things that impact blood sugar as well. It's like over 40 factors that can impact it. So
Mm.
we're mindful of that, but food is a really big one. So carbohydrates, and that's things like bread, pasta, rice, cereal, potatoes, those types of foods, they impact sugar in the bloodstream the most because all carbohydrates will be broken down into sugar molecules. Yeah. At the same time, proteins and fats, so things like meat, chicken, fish, eggs, tofu, those sorts of foods, and fats like avocado, olive oil, nuts, seeds, those sorts of foods, they also can impact blood sugar to a way lesser extent. And the main thing that they're really helpful to do is to slow down digestion. So what they can do when you pair those with carbohydrates, prevent sugar in the bloodstream from going up too quickly, because it means that the sugar gets released more slowly. Your body takes longer to break down that food, right? So when you have gestational diabetes, it's really important to be managing the type of carbohydrates that you're eating, the portion size that you're eating, the context that you're eating them in, so making sure they're balanced out with proteins and healthy fats, and also fiber from fruits and vegetables and things, so that you don't get that big spike in blood sugar. And it's kind of complicated because it's, there's a whole lot to go into it, but it's generally healthy eating. It is not cutting out carbohydrates, which is a very common thought process of like, carbs will make my blood sugar go high, so we'll just cut out the carbs. That's not really the right approach, because it can make things worse. They can have a rebound effect where blood sugar goes high because your body compensates and still needs sugar in the bloodstream, so it might release too much from storage supplies like in the liver. And I know I'm kind of getting ahead of myself and complicating it a bit. I'm trying to say it simply, but it's just such a big topic. I could obviously speak about forever.
Yes. We try to understand. It's so at first, when I first thought of diabetes, I thought if I eat lots of lollies, then I will get the diabetes. But I didn't realize all the, pasta and all those food as well, bread, pasta, all those food will break down into sugars, right? The carbs break down into sugars.
You raise a really good point in the sense that it's actually a big misconception that just eating too much sugar or eating too many carbohydrates will lead you to have just like diabetes or gestational diabetes, because it doesn't work like that. It's not really like a eat too much sugar, get diabetes situation. That's not how it works at all. So please want anyone watching who does have gestational diabetes to know that it's not your fault. You didn't just eat too many lollies and develop gestational diabetes. That's not how it develops. The treatment is really not just cut out all of those things either, but they do get broken down into sugar, but it's still essential and we still need those foods, especially healthy foods from that category. So things like whole grains, so like multigrain bread, whole grain pasta, and all those other beautiful grains. We've got like quinoa and whatever, and doing stuff like potatoes and eating legumes like lentils and chickpeas and beans. They're all carbohydrates. They're all really important. They all add a lot of nutrients and benefits into your diet. It's about balancing them out. So it's really not about restricting them. And you've got to remember as well, the key thing I think that people really need to realize is that you've got two competing goals. So you've manage your blood sugar, but you also need to be making sure you're ticking off your key nutrients during pregnancy and eating enough to support healthy pregnancy, well-being, and for your baby's best outcomes. It's not just about under-eating to achieve good numbers,
Oh, that would be tricky, wouldn't it? Because if you're trying to, just looking at the numbers but like you said, there is a two-man goal, right? And it's not just about you, but then you have to take care of Bob as well.
Yeah. So it's not just eating as little as possible to get better numbers when you check your blood sugar. It's really about thinking bigger picture of what's going on with your diet. Yeah.
So we have lots of people joining just now. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming here. Today we have amazing Helena, and she is a gestational diabetes dietitian. Okay, thank you so much for being here. So we are going to we would like to know some basic management for our gestational diabetes ladies. What would that be? Is there anything we could do?
So basic management when you have
Management,
gestation.
yes.
Essentially what I was just speaking about, so making sure that you're ticking off like good principles of your diet, having a relatively like whole food based diet, unprocessed types of foods, and having a good distribution of carbohydrates that are balanced out with proteins and healthy fats and fiber across the
Yeah.
day. So as a practical example, maybe that would look like, instead of having just toast for breakfast, you have some multigrain bread with avocado, some poached eggs, and some veggies on the side. So you're ticking off components. And then for lunch, maybe instead of having, I don't know, a curry with rice and beans and naan bread and whatever it might be, you've got a lot of carbohydrates coming into that, and instead you could buffer it out by doing, okay, we'll do a smaller portion of all those things, maybe scrap the naan, just do lentils and some rice, and then really bulk up lots of veggies and getting in some protein there, whether that be like tofu, chicken, fish, whatever you want to have.
Yeah.
So really making sure your meals are very well balanced across the
Balance.
day.
Yeah.
And also lots of lifestyle stuff. So making sure you're regularly moving your body. Doesn't have to be anything like too extreme. It can be some frequent walking, or if that's difficult for whatever reason, like pelvic girdle pain, maybe there's plenty of other types of movement that you can do. And you've got to make sure you're drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, aiming to proactively manage stress as best that you can, because that has a really big impact on sugar in the bloodstream as well. So there's lots and lots of factors to consider, not just your diet, but essentially making sure that you're eating really well balanced meals in not in what am I trying to say, in balanced portions as well. It's just so fluffy when you say the word balance. Like, what does that actually mean?
Yes.
But making sure that you're eating consistent meals that aren't either huge or tiny at regular intervals across the day, with that balance of protein, fats, fiber, and carbohydrates. And I guess, like, to give a visual and more practical example as well. So like I said about not just doing toast, doing, eggs and toast and avocado, veggies, say. If you think about like what your plate might look like, potentially about 1/4 of that to be carbohydrates, so bread, pasta, cereal, potato, that kind of thing. 1/4 to be protein, so like your meat, chicken, fish, eggs, tofu, whatever it will be. Maybe a tablespoon's worth of healthy fats, so avocado, olive oil, nuts, seeds, that kind of thing, and then half a plate of lots of beautiful veggies you want to see on there. So
Yes, beautiful.
more insight too.
Yeah. So does it, the interval, as you said, does it, it depends on the person's, person, or everyone can have in a certain interval time?
What I mean by that is really just like regular meals. So you should have said
Okay.
simply.
Yeah.
So breakfast.
No, because I wasn't sure the people, with the gestational diabetes, if they have a particular diet regimen, or they can eat like a.
Everyone's so different in terms of, what your preferences are, what your schedule is like, what your routine is like. I do think it is helpful to have potentially slightly smaller meals and having more frequent snacks as well. So being breakfast, morning tea, lunch, afternoon tea, dinner, maybe supper if you like having that. And the reason for that is because then we're not getting too much carbohydrate getting broken down into glucose at once. So we're spreading it more. And it can also just be helpful from other pregnancy symptom management perspectives as well. So if you think about like your stomach might be feeling like it gets full really quickly because of the pressure of where bub is sitting. Yeah. And it's also easier to reduce the volume of food that you're eating at one time by spreading it out a bit. And also help with things like, constipation symptoms and stuff like that too, and reflux and lots of those other lovely things that may come along with
Lovely
your
things.
pregnancy.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But yes, that was really helpful because, I wasn't thinking of the butt pressing the stomach as well. Yes, I've been through that, but like you forget about those things, and it's just incredible how you have to rethink and rewire yourself. So it's
Yeah.
very interesting. Yeah, thank you for the reminder. Appreciate that. And I wanted to ask at the end that if there is any resources or support that you would recommend to people.
Yeah, well, I guess I can point to the direction of my own things if I'm
Yes.
allowed.
Oh,
I have
absolutely. Yes.
I have a free guide which is available just on my Instagram page, just through my bio. So that guide takes you through some really just like some key mistakes to look out for in
Mm-hmm.
your gestational diabetes diet and some signs that it might need a little bit of adjustment. And so that is available. I don't think it's got a catchy name. I think it's just called 8 Signs Your Gestational Diabetes Diet Might Need a Tweak or
Yeah.
something like that.
Mm.
That's available. I am soon going to be bringing out a paid guide, but will be quite comprehensive. The women will be able to purchase. I haven't got that up and running yet, but watch this space.
Mm.
And I have a podcast called Gestational Diabetes Club that could be really helpful for you to go and listen to lots of episodes about different topics on gestational diabetes. As you can hear, I can days and that it is kind of more complicated than it might seem on the surface. So there's a lot to cover, and that's all in my podcast episodes that you can go and download. And other than that, there's some pretty good like government resources, and hopefully you're linked in with a dietitian in your own care team. I know that's not possible for every person and every hospital system. Like I think it's quite a downfall that there's often not a lot of support, but do ask your care team to put you in touch with somebody because they might be able to, so you can see what you can access through that. But I would say as well, beware a little bit of what you read online because
Mm.
you want to take things with a grain of salt and make sure you're running it by your own care team to make sure it is not misinformation and that it's accurate and that it's approved for you because everyone's really different. So yeah, I suppose why do I make everything so long-winded? But there's free resources out there,
Yes.
and if you want to visit my page on Instagram, I'd
Yeah.
love to chit chat to you. So
I will put the link in in the content as well, and so people can find it. And it's up in your bio. I checked it out, so yes, and it's
yeah,
beautiful, by the way.
thank you.
Yeah. All right. So if anyone from the viewers, if you have any questions, please put your comment down below. And yes, and I was going to ask, and while we wait for the questions, I was going to ask Helena about where people can find you, but you have the website as well in the bio, right?
Yeah. And we'll put that in our, I don't know, in whatever caption we
Yes,
do
in
from
the
Instagram.
caption, I'll put that in. Yes.
But my profile is Helena dot, oh my god, no it's not. Nutrition.by.helena is my Instagram profile, and then from there is a link to my freebie, and then like I said, my podcast is called Gestational Diabetes Club, which is pretty easy to find, and my website is also just nutritionbyhelena.com. So easy to get in touch. But the easiest way to talk to me is honestly just on Instagram
On,
in my DMs.
so just
So,
DM
yeah,
you.
just DM
Yes.
me.
Awesome.
Chat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming here today. So we will say bye-bye for now. And thank you, Helena, for coming here today and for your time. And we will send you some sunshine from here. And I'm in a half sleep. Awesome. Okay. You have a great day. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And you have a great day, Helena. Thanks you.
Thanks, Ange. Thanks for having me. Have a
Thank you
good
so
one.
much. Bye-bye.